The phantom signal the Empire's Deep Space Command Center was silent at first, filled only with the steady hum of machines and the blinking of endless monitors. Thousands of ships patrolled the border, their movements watched carefully from this room. Nothing unusual had been reported in weeks. The commanders were already growing restless, waiting for some sign of action. Then it happened. A junior officer sitting at the far end of the hall leaned forward, his eyes wide at the sudden flicker on his screen. It was faint, just a ripple of energy, almost too small to notice. He tapped the console twice, thinking it might be an error. But the reading grew stronger. "Commander," he called out, his voice shaky, "we have an unknown contact." The entire room seemed to freeze. Every officer turned toward the main display as the reading was transferred onto the central screen. There, against the darkness of space, a shape appeared. It was no ordinary ship. The vessel was massive, larger than any destroyer or battleship the Empire had ever built. Its surface shimmered with strange light, like shadows bending around it. No known code, no registry, no transponder. Its hull was black, as if it absorbed every beam of light around it. For a moment, it seemed more like a ghost than a machine. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the command hall. "Raise defenses." The commander shouted, "Alert the fleet intercept at once." Dozens of officers scrambled. Across the border, Imperial warships shifted formation, moving quickly to block the intruder. Fighters were launched, their engines burning bright. As they rushed toward the phantom vessel, but something was wrong. The ship didn't move. It didn't fire. It didn't even respond to hails or warnings. It simply hung in the void, silent and still, like it was watching. "Try communications." Again. The commander barked. "This is Imperial Command," the officer repeated, his voice steady but nervous. "Unknown vessel, you are trespassing into restricted space. Identify yourself immediately or face destruction." The vessel gave no answer. Of the senior analysts, an old officer with graying skin leaned forward. His eyes narrowed as he studied the readings. "Sir," he said slowly, "this ship, it doesn't match anything in our archives. Not Imperial, not Council, not even from the fringe colonies. It's impossible." The commander's jaw tightened. "Nothing is impossible. Prepare to fire." The fleet armed its weapons, energy cannons glowing with deadly light. And then, before a single shot could be fired, the ship moved. It wasn't fast. It wasn't loud. It simply faded. One moment it was there, vast and terrifying, blotting out the stars. The next it was gone. Not destroyed, not cloaked. Simply vanished. Every console in the command center went wild. Alarms screamed. Screens flashed error after error. Sensors showed nothing, no trace, no signal, no energy trail. It was as if the ship had never existed at all. Silence fell over the hall. Once more, the commander's fists trembled at his sides. His voice was low, filled with fury. "Find it, now." The officers worked frantically, scanning every inch of space. Nothing. Not a spark, not a shadow, not a sound. The phantom had disappeared into the void. Then, as suddenly as it had vanished, the vessel returned. Another alarm blared. The unknown contact reappeared, this time much closer, almost inside the Imperial formation. Warships scrambled in panic, trying to adjust. Fighters broke formation, spinning wildly. The black vessel hovered between them, silent, untouched, untouchable. The commander's voice shook with rage. How is this possible? How is it moving without detection? The old analyst whispered, "It's not moving, it's phasing. It is here and not here, like a shadow between worlds." The commander turned, his face pale. "Are you saying this thing is not of our galaxy?" Before anyone could answer, the ship vanished again. This time, it did not reappear. The officers sat frozen, staring. At their empty screens, no one moved, no one spoke. The silence was heavier than any alarm. Finally, the Emperor's voice came through the grand holodisplay at the center of the room. His image towered above them, sharp eyes filled with cold fire. "I gave you fleets to protect my empire," he thundered. "And yet an intruder appears before your very eyes, mocks you, and disappears. Do you know what that means?" The commander lowered his head, trembling. "It means we are being tested, my emperor." The emperor's gaze burned. "No, it means someone believes the empire is blind, and I do not forgive mockery." The hall fell silent again, every officer holding their breath. The emperor leaned closer, his voice cold as steel. "Find that ship. Hunt it across the stars. And when you do," his eyes narrowed, "bring me the head of the species who built it." The transmission cut off. The command hall remained silent, haunted by the phantom signal that had come and gone like a ghost. But one officer could not shake the thought running through his mind. What kind of power could make a ship appear and vanish at will? And more importantly, why did it show itself to the Empire first? Whispers in the shadows. The Empire's borders had never been this restless. Entire fleets patrolled the darkness, but fear now lingered in every crew. The story of the phantom vessel spread faster than any official report. Soldiers whispered in their bunks, officers muttered in command halls, and citizens in distant colonies spoke of a ghost ship that could appear and vanish at will. At first, commanders dismissed it as panic. But then came the reports. A patrol on the rim claimed they saw the vessel materialize for less than a heartbeat. Their scanners picked up a shadow bigger than a dreadnought, but when they blinked, it was gone. Another fleet reported seeing its black hull near a mining colony, floating silent above the rocks before fading away like mist. No wreckage. No trail. No answers. The High Council met in secret, their voices sharp with anger and unease. They demanded to know how the Empire had allowed such a thing to happen. The Empire's envoys promised strength, promised control, but even their voices shook. Meanwhile, in the deep halls of Imperial intelligence, a young codebreaker named Relar studied every report. He was not high-ranking, not powerful, but he had a sharp mind and restless curiosity. Unlike the generals, he did not see the phantom ship as a threat. He saw it as a puzzle. For hours he compared the sensor logs. Patterns began to form strange ones. The vessel appeared only in sectors where humans had once passed. Not colonies, not war zones, just places where humans had left some mark. An old station, a ruined settlement, a derelict satellite. Relar whispered to himself, "It's not random. It's following a path." He tried to report this finding, but his superiors laughed. "You're chasing shadows," they told him. "The humans are too weak to build such a thing. They are still a primitive world, tolerated only because the Council insists." But Relar couldn't shake the thought. Why did the phantom always appear where humans once were? Why not anywhere else? Far from the intelligence halls, whispers spread through the lower fleets as well. Pilots swore they saw symbols carved on the hull of the phantom vessel, symbols that looked eerily human. Some claimed they saw a faint blue glow within, like the eyes of a living being. Others swore the ship was not made of metal at all, but of shifting shadows. No one knew the truth. But fear grew. One night, while the command center was quiet, Relar slipped back into the restricted archives. He pulled up ancient records, old battle logs from wars long forgotten. He searched for any mention of a ship like the Phantom, and there it was, a report over 200 years old. A human admiral had written it, his words rough and bold. He spoke of a Watcher-class experiment, a warship designed to vanish. between realities. It was said to be impossible to track, able to appear anywhere, to strike without warning, and to leave no trace. The project was thought to be abandoned, its creators lost in secrecy. Relar's heart pounded. Watcher class? Could it be? He downloaded the file onto a small crystal drive, hiding it in his uniform. He knew if the Empire discovered his theft, he would be executed. But he also knew the truth was too dangerous to ignore. The next morning, chaos returned to the border. Another phantom sighting this time, above a noble world of the Empire. It hung there, black and silent, watching his entire fleet scrambled. The people screamed in fear. The nobles demanded action. The Empires. Dreadnoughts fired. Beams of pure energy cut across the sky, but the phantom simply shifted. The blasts struck empty space, hitting nothing but darkness. And then, before the fleet's eyes, the vessel flickered and reappeared right behind them. Warships spun in terror. Crews shouted warnings. But the phantom ship made no attack, got it simply. Vanished again. On the homeworld, the Emperor raged. This vessel mocks us again and again. Who commands it? Who dares insult my empire? No one had an answer, but in a quiet corner of the intelligence halls, Relar whispered the truth to himself. This is not an enemy of the Empire. This is a warning. And the humans are at the heart of it. That night, he could not sleep. His mind replayed the words of the human admiral from centuries ago. The Watcher class was never built to destroy. It was built to remind. But remind of what? As Relar drifted into uneasy dreams, he saw the image of the phantom vessel again, its black hull blotting out the stars. And in that dream, he heard a voice, calm and steady, speaking words that chilled him to the bone. We are always watching. The human archive empire had faced many enemies before rebellious colonies. Rival species, even rogues, but never a ghost. The phantom vessel had humiliated their fleets twice now, and the fear it left behind was worse than any battle. Wound. The Emperor demanded answers. So the order went out. Search every record. Dig through every archive. Find the truth of this vessel. Across the galaxy, scholars and intelligence officers worked day and night. But most files led to dead ends, corrupted data, or ancient myths. The Council grew impatient. Yet, in the lower halls of the Imperial Archive, one man already held the clue. Relar, the young codebreaker who had stolen the ancient human report. He had read it again and again until the words burned into his mind. Watcher class, designed to phase between realities. Not for war, but for memory. Built by humans, abandoned in secret. It was impossible. Humans were seen as weak, their fleets small and outdated. And yet, the file was clear. Centuries ago, humans had touched something beyond physics, something the Empire still could not grasp. Relar needed proof. He disguised himself as a scribe and entered the forbidden section of the archives, a place where the oldest wars were recorded. Dust covered the shelves. Data crystals flickered with failing light. Few dared to enter, for the Empire preferred to bury its shame in silence. Hours passed as he searched. Then, at last, he found it, an old human transmission, nearly broken, but still readable. The hollow image flickered to life. A weary human admiral, scarred and stern, speaking to someone unseen. His voice was calm, but heavy. The Watcher is not a weapon, he said. It is a reminder. To all who see it, humanity does not forget, and we do not forgive. The recording ended, the screen going black. Relar's heart raced. He had no doubt now. The phantom ship haunting the Empire was not random. It was human. But why reveal itself now, after centuries? Before Relar could think further, a voice called from behind him. What are you doing here? Relar spun around. An officer of high. Rank stood in the shadows, his eyes sharp with suspicion. The young codebreaker quickly bowed, hiding the crystal drive in his sleeve. "Research, sir, on the phantom vessel." The officer's eyes narrowed. "You dig too deep, boy. There are secrets better left buried." Villar forced a calm smile. "The Emperor wants answers. I only serve." The officer studied him for a long moment, then turned away. "Be careful, Relar. Curiosity kills faster than war." When he was gone, Relar let out a shaky breath. He knew now his search was dangerous. But he also knew something the Empire did not. Humanity's silence was not weakness. It was a choice far away on the human homeworld. A silence was breaking in a hidden command bunker beneath the mountains. Human admirals stood around a glowing table. Maps of the galaxy shimmered before them, showing every point the phantom vessel had appeared. "It's working," one admiral said quietly. "The Empire is rattled. Their fleets are restless. Their confidence is crumbling." Another nodded. "They don't understand the Watcher. They think it's a weapon. Let them think so." The oldest among them, a man with silver hair and sharp eyes, placed his hand on the table. His voice was steady. "The galaxy must never forget. They mocked Earth. They called us weak. They enslaved our colonies. But they will learn. Humanity remembers everything." The room fell silent. Outside, hidden deep in orbit, the phantom vessel rested silent, waiting like a predator in the dark. The Empire, Relar returned to his quarters. He locked the door, pulled out the crystal drive, and replayed the human admiral's words again and again. "Humanity does not forget, and we do not forgive." The phrase echoed in his mind. Suddenly, his console flickered. A message appeared, though. No source was detected. Just 3 words, glowing cold against the screen. "We are watching." Relar froze. His room was silent, his heart pounding. The console blinked again, then went dark. No trace of the message remained. He whispered to himself, his voice trembling. "It's not just a ship. It's them. The humans are behind all of this." In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor stood before his generals, fury in his eyes. "This ghost mocks us again. I want every world searched, every human watched. If they hide something, I will tear it from their bones. Do not stop until the truth is mine." The generals bowed, but in their hearts, some wondered if even the Emperor's will could stand against a phantom that defied the laws of the universe. The shadows of doubt were spreading, and somewhere, far beyond their reach, the Watcher stirred once more. Asterisk. The Council's panic. The Galactic Council chamber was built to inspire fear. 1,000 banners of alien empires hung from the ceiling. Massive stone pillars lined the floor, carved with victories of the past. Here, the galaxy's rulers argued, plotted, and passed judgment. But on this day, the chamber was not filled with pride. It was filled with fear. The phantom vessel had appeared again. Not at the borders, not in empty space, but above the Council's very world. Billions had seen it. Black as night, silent as death, it hovered above the capital for 3 long minutes. No weapons fired, no words spoken. And then it was gone. Now, the Council shouted like frightened children. "This is the Empire's failure," roared a scaled chancellor with burning eyes. "You claim dominion of the border. You claim strength, yet a shadow mocks us all." The Empire's envoy stood tall, but sweat beaded his brow. "Our fleets are unmatched. This apparition is no normal enemy. We believe it to be human trickery." The chamber erupted in noise. "Humans? Impossible," snarled one delegate. "They are too weak." Hissed another. "They cannot even defend their small colonies," added a third. Yet others whispered different words. What if it was true? The idea of humans wielding such a phantom. Vessel was unthinkable, and yet no other explanation fit. The ship appeared where humans had once been. It vanished before fleets could react. It struck fear deeper than any armada. For the first time in centuries, the council felt powerless. Meanwhile, far from the shouting chamber, Rilar the young codebreaker stood at the edge of a public square, looking up at the empty sky. He had seen the phantom vessel above this world with his own eyes. It had not attacked, had not spoken. It had only watched. The people were terrified. Some prayed to their gods. Others fled into shelters. Rumors spread like wildfire. The ship was a ghost of ancient warriors, a weapon of gods, or perhaps the beginning of the end. Rilar whispered to himself, "It is the Watcher. It chooses when to appear. It chooses who sees it. And it wants to be remembered." Inside the council chamber, the shouting grew worse. One faction demanded immediate war against Earth. Another demanded appeasement. A third insisted the phantom was not real at all, only a clever illusion. The Empire's envoy slammed his hand on the table. "Enough! If this is human work, then let us crush them now. Their fleets are weak. Their numbers are small. We will burn Earth before they dare mock us again." But a voice rose from the shadows, calm and chilling. It belonged to a counselor older than most, his skin pale, his eyes dark. "You speak of burning Earth," he said. "But what if this vessel is not their weapon? What if it is only a fragment of something greater? What if the humans do not show us their strength, but their warning?" The chamber fell into silence. For a brief moment, no one spoke. The words lingered in the air like poison dots. Suddenly, alarms blared across the chamber. Holoscreens lit up, flashing with urgent signals. "Contact detected," shouted a guard. Above the council's orbit again. Every delegate turned as live feed filled the great display. The phantom vessel had returned. It floated above the planet, vast and silent, its black hole blotting out the stars. Delegates screamed. Some collapsed in fear. Others shouted for fleets to attack. Imperial dreadnoughts rose from the planet's orbit, their cannons glowing bright. Fighters swarmed like insects, but before the order to fire was given, the phantom vessel shifted. Its surface rippled like water. For a heartbeat, strange markings appeared on its hull symbols. Some recognized them instantly. Human letters. The council chamber froze. The symbols burned bright for only a second. But the meaning was clear to those who understood. We remembered that then. The phantom vanished. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shrieked. The scaled chancellor screamed, "It is the humans. They defy us all." Others cried, "If they have such power, none of us are safe." The council descended into madness. But Rilar, watching from the outside on the public screen, felt something colder than fear. He knew those words were not just meant for the Empire. They were meant for the entire galaxy. The humans had spoken, not with mouths or weapons, but with shadows. The Watcher class had delivered its first message. That night, whispers spread across every world. The humans are not weak. The humans are not silent. The humans remember. And as stars burned quietly in the void, a single question haunted every mind. If this was only the beginning, what would come next? The humans silenced the galaxy, demanded answers. The council demanded war, and the emperor demanded blood. But Earth remained silent. For weeks, envoys sent message after message to the humans. Threats, warnings, and desperate questions filled the void between stars. No reply ever came. It was as if humanity simply didn't care. On the imperial capital, the emperor raged. He stood before his generals, his voice like thunder. "The humans mock us. They unleash their phantom over our worlds, and then they stay silent. This is an insult to my throne. They think we will hesitate. They think we will fear. I will tear the silence from them. The generals bowed, but even they could not hide their unease. They had all seen the vessel above the council world. They had seen its message burn across the stars. We remember Dot, and now humanity refused to explain Dot. Meanwhile, in the farthest reaches of space, the Watcher-class vessel drifted unseen. Its black hull seemed to merge with the void. Inside, hidden command crews watched everything council meetings, imperial fleets, even whispers of rebellion on distant colonies. They spoke little. Only their leader, a human admiral with sharp, gray eyes, broke the silence. "The Empire will demand answers," he said calmly, "and we will give them none. The more we say, the weaker we become. But in silence—" He paused, his gaze hard as iron. "They will drown in their own fear." Back in the Empire, young Relar, the codebreaker, grew restless. He had seen the ancient human archive. He had read the warnings of the past. He knew the truth, though no one would believe him. The humans were not boasting. They were not attacking. They were reminding. But reminding of what? One night, while searching through restricted logs, Relar found a faint signal buried deep in the records. It was a human transmission, intercepted years ago, but ignored. He played it. The voice was steady, almost gentle. "The galaxy thinks we are weak. Let them think so. But one day, when they forget the cost of their arrogance, we will remind them." Relar shivered. He whispered to himself, "The Phantom is not an attack. It's a promise." The council, however, could not accept silence. Delegates screamed at one another. If the humans do not speak, then they admit guilt. Then strike Earth now. Burn their fleets before they unleash more phantoms. But others hesitated. What if silence is their weapon? What if Phantom is not the only one? Fear twisted every decision. At last, the Emperor acted. He sent his most powerful fleet, the Crimson Armada, directly to the Sol system. 100 warships, armed with the Empire's finest weapons, charged through hyperspace. The mission was clear: force the humans to speak, or destroy them. As the fleet entered human space, silence continued. No defenses rose. No warnings came. Earth itself loaded calmly in the void, blue and quiet, as if unaware of the danger above it. "Pathetic," growled the admiral of the Crimson Armada. "They cower like children." He ordered his fleet to power weapons, but before the first shot could fire, space itself rippled. The phantom vessel appeared. It did not fire. It did not move. It simply hovered above Earth, its black hull covering the stars. The admiral's voice broke with rage. "Fire! Destroy it!" Cannons blazed. Beams of energy cut through the sky. Missiles streaked across the void, but every shot passed through empty space. The phantom faded, reappeared, and vanished again. The human planet below remained untouched. On Earth, deep inside the mountain bunker, the human admirals watched the chaos unfold on their screens. One of them turned to the gray-eyed leader. "Should we respond now?" The leader shook his head. "No, they will beg for answers, and we will give them nothing. Fear is the sharpest blade. Let the silence speak louder than war." In the command room of the Crimson Armada, panic spread. Crews shouted. Systems failed. Every time they tried to fire, the Phantom appeared in a new position, always just out of reach. Then, without a sound, the vessel flickered directly behind. The Admiral's flagship its massive shadow covered the ship. Every console screamed alarms. For a single second, symbols glowed across its black hull human letters. Burning bright. "Do not test us. And then it vanished. The Crimson Armada fled in shame. The Emperor's fury shook the galaxy. But even he could not deny the truth. His most powerful fleet had been broken without a single human word spoken, without a single weapon fired. And still, Earth remained silent. That night, across countless worlds, the same whisper spread like wildfire. The humans have a phantom that cannot be stopped. The humans have chosen silence. And silence is worse than war. Relar stared at the stars from his small window, fear tightening his chest. The humans are not silent because they cannot speak, he whispered. They are silent because they are waiting. Waiting for something far worse. Fire in the void. The Crimson Armada's defeat should have been warning enough. But the Emperor was not a man who listened to warnings. His pride was greater than reason, and his fury burned hotter than suns. The humans dare shame me? He thundered to his court. They hide behind shadows and silence, mocking the Empire. If silence is their weapon, then fire shall be mine. I will burn their phantom out of existence, even if I must tear the stars apart. And so he gave the order, mobilize. Every fleet. The greatest armada in the Empire's history gathered at the edge of human space. Thousands of warships, each bristling with cannons. Dreadnoughts that could crack moons. Carriers that could unleash endless fighters. Even experimental weapons, mass drivers, star lances, and dark matter torpedoes were prepared for one purpose: to end the Phantom. The galaxy held its breath. In the silence of deep space, the human watcher vessel stirred. Its black hull reflected nothing, a void within the void. Inside, the gray-eyed admiral stood before his crew, calm as stone. They bring fire, he said quietly. But fire cannot touch a shadow. The crew nodded, steady and silent. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. When the Imperial Armada entered Sol, the sky itself seemed to shatter with light. Ships spread across the system, forming walls of steel around Earth. The Admiral of the Armada raised his hand. Today, we erase the human insult. Today, we burn their phantom from the stars. The order was given. Thousands of cannons opened fire. The void erupted. Beams of energy lanced across the system, tearing through asteroids, shattering moons. Explosions thundered like the birth of suns. The Watcher vessel was engulfed in flames so bright, even Earth's surface shook with light. For a moment, the Empire cheered. For a moment, they believed they had won. But then, the fire cleared, and the Phantom was still there, untouched, silent, watching. Panic rippled through the Imperial fleet. More orders came, more weapons fired, more waves of destruction unleashed. But every time the Phantom was struck, it simply faded. Cannons passed through it. Missiles exploded against empty darkness. Then, without warning, the Phantom moved. It flickered from one side of the battlefield to the other, faster than sensors could track. One moment it hovered before a dreadnought. The next it appeared behind. It's silent and massive, blotting out the stars. Imperial ships fired wildly, striking each other in the chaos. Fighters crashed. Carriers burned. The Armada's formation collapsed within minutes. The Phantom still did not fire a single weapon. Inside the Watcher, the gray-eyed admiral spoke with quiet authority. Disable them. Leave them alive. Fear will do the rest. The crew obeyed. With a low hum, the Watcher's systems activated. Invisible waves pulsed across the battlefield. Imperial ships shuddered. Engines died. Cannons froze. Bridges went dark as power drained away. One by one, the Emperor's mighty warships went silent, floating helplessly in the void. The Admiral of the Imperial Armada screamed into his dead console. "No! Fight! We are the Empire!" "We," his voice, cut out as his ship, too, went dark. In the Imperial capital, the Emperor's face twisted in rage as reports poured in. His fleet, his pride, his power reduced to helpless wrecks in less than an hour. But the final insult came moments later. Across every disabled warship, across every broken console, across every dead screen, words appeared. Human words. You were. Warned. Billions across the galaxy saw the message. Citizens wept. Soldiers trembled. Even the proudest rulers fell into silence. The Empire's greatest fleet had not only been defeated, it had been humiliated. Without a single shot from the Phantom, without a single life taken, only silence, only shadows, not only fear. On the Watcher vessel, the crew sat in calm silence as their admiral closed his eyes. "They will remember this," he said softly. "They will remember that fire cannot touch us. That fear is stronger than war." His second-in-command leaned closer. "And if they do not?" The admiral's eyes opened, cold as the void. "Then we show them what silence becomes when it turns to wrath." In the palace, the emperor sat alone, his throne heavy with shame. For the first time in his reign, he did not roar. He did not threaten. He did not speak at all, because deep inside, even he knew, the humans had won without war. Worse, this was not their endgame, this was only their warning. Asterisk. The truth revealed the galaxy had never known such silence. The Empire's greatest armada, thousands of ships floated dead in space. No engines, no weapons, no hope. Entire fleets had been broken without a single battle. The Phantom vessel had left them drifting, powerless, their pride shattered. And yet, not a single life was taken. That was the part that terrified them most. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor raged alone. His court had fled, his generals bowed in shame. His words no longer inspired fear. How? He whispered to the empty throne room. How can one ghost bring an empire to its knees? But deep inside, he already knew the answer. This was no ghost. This was no accident, this was humanity. Across the galaxy, people whispered in fear. Farmers on remote colonies, miners in the asteroid belts, scholars in grand academies. All spoke the same words. The humans remember. The humans do not forgive. The humans are watching. The legend of the Phantom spread like fire, faster than any fleet. Then, one night, the galaxy finally received what it feared most. Not silence, not shadows, but a message. Every screen lit up at once. Every console, every comm station, every broadcast channel across the stars turned black. And then a symbol appeared, the mark of Earth. A voice followed. Calm, steady, human. You have wondered who commands the Phantom. You have asked why we remain silent. Today, we answer. The galaxy froze. Billions listened in silence. We are humanity. You thought us weak. You thought us broken. You believed our world small, our fleets outdated. But you were wrong. The voice grew sharper, heavier, like iron striking stone. The vessel you. Fear is not our weapon. It is our memory. We built it long ago, not to destroy, but to remind. To remind the galaxy that every crime leaves a scar, every insult leaves a wound, and every war leaves a debt. We do not forget, and we do not forgive. The words echoed across every star system. No ruler could silence them. No fleet could block them. The humans had spoken, and the galaxy had no choice but to hear. On the Watcher vessel, the gray-eyed admiral stood in silence as the transmission spread. His crew watched him closely, waiting. One officer whispered, "They will hate us for this." The admiral nodded. "Yes, but more than hate, they will fear, and fear will keep them from war." In the council chamber, delegates trembled. Some wept, others shouted in panic. One chancellor cried out, "If they hold such power, what hope is left for us?" But the oldest counselor only lowered his head. The humans did not show us their strength. They showed us restraint. That is what terrifies me most. In the Emperor's palace, the voice of humanity still rang through the halls. You sent fleets against us. You fired weapons at us. You called us weak, and yet we killed no one. because this was not war. This was warning. The Emperor sank into his throne, his fists trembling. His empire, once the most feared in the galaxy, was now the most humiliated. The voice gave its final words. Remember this. We are humanity. We are patient. We are silent. But when the time comes, we will not be shadows. We will not be whispers. We will be fire, and the galaxy will burn before we fall. Then the screens went dark. For days after, no one spoke openly of war. Even the boldest rulers hesitated. The Empire pulled its fleets back from human borders. The Council stopped its demands. And across the stars, people lowered their voices whenever they said the word human. The Watcher vessel faded once more into the void, unseen, unheard, but always present. And in that silence, every world, every empire, every living soul carried the same thought. The humans are watching. Asterisk.